Hey, top of the morning to you. Hope you're well. I will look up just in a second here, get back on my desk, just doodling on a little something here, and thought it might be fun to paint a little simple something on this morning. Let's see if we can figure out what that might be here. Sometimes I'm still trying out my new pen here. See it? It's a this is a Kakuno, and it's the extra fine fountain pen. Has Pilot ink. It's made by Pilot. One of the things I'm going to put out on my one of the things I'm going to put out on the email list is all the pens. I've been laying everything out here, and I know some of you type A artists, this is driving you crazy, but wait, you haven't seen anything yet. There's old iPhone boxes that are just filled with pens over here, and that's not the only one. They're lined up here like buses waiting to get out of the terminal. So there you have it. So that's what's going on right here. This is, of course, a little painting that I wanted to do something simple this morning. I started this when I sat down here with my tea and haven't finished it. Just a little storytelling. Let me say hi to you, and I'll jump back on here. Good morning to you. I'm Michael, as the grandkids call me, Roo. Glad to have you on the show this morning. It's Tuesday, or Roo's Day, as Michelle always says. Roo's Day. It's Roo's Day. I don't know. When I say that, I want to jump into my old DJ voice. Good morning. It's the informal, informative, incisive, incandescent, incomparable, indescribable, but humble little radio show. Isn't it crazy what DJs would do to make up their little story? Because you're in that room like I am here, and you're just talking to yourself. One person. And I was having this conversation with my friend Ash yesterday, and I said, Ash is just like taping a picture onto the microphone, you know? That one picture's out there, and you go, well, I'll tell you something else, Barb. Listen to this. This is going to have to be, and you just have to really think that you folks are out there. And I see you populating the show, and you are out there, and it's fascinating that you're hanging on and saying hello to me this morning, so I'm grateful for that. Thank you for being here. Let me just say hi to a few folks as I pop down here, and then I'm going to go back to this little painting. I made a few notes yesterday on the desk. I did post the link for subscribing to Roodoodles, which is the Roo's Crew newsletter, and I don't send out a... Yes, I've never been one to over-communicate. Maybe in this show, but not in the other life. Just figure some things out. You know, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know how to do that, and we were talking about this recently. I was in a place where we did stick races. You know what stick races are? You just find a stick and you mark it with a pen or a marker, and you drop it in the creek next to the other sticks, and you see which one comes out under the bridge first. That's what I did when I was growing up. And we used to do that at this camp, and this lady came up one time and she said, I can't find a stick. I just can't find a stick. And I said, well, it only needs to be about so long, you know, this big, and here's the markers. Everything's laid out here. We're going to start up here in about 8 minutes. She goes, I can't find a stick. And so I just stopped and I said, ma'am, there's 2,000 acres here of timber, of woods. You might have to leave the sidewalk and go into the woods a little bit. So it doesn't take me long to get off in the woods here in my story. Everything is an analogy. Everything can be used as a story. So top of the morning to you, Irma and Brittany. I see my camera flashing in and out of here a little bit. It's because I'm leaning over. I didn't cut my hair. Just pulled it back this morning because it's one of those mornings I'm running off again to go do another video shoot today. And so you can't have hair hanging down when you're trying to focus in on someone telling an important story about their life. Wow, what a day yesterday. Brittany, welcome to you this morning. Thank you for being here. Chandlin Chip Fur, welcome, my friend. Put the coffee on, brother. Woohoo! I got your mug here, Chip, so we need to talk. Donna Bullman, Glenda Small, Bob from the invigorating cornfields of Iowa. Is it heaven? No, it's Iowa. Bob, if I've done nothing else for you, my friend, except spark your creativity, and I feel humbled and blessed to do that. You are now searching the thesaurus, looking for great adjectives for those cornfields in Iowa. And I love that, man. There's a whole little book in there somewhere of the cornfields of Iowa, because they are gorgeous. Come on, you feed our country. Wow. Karen Binder, thank you. Got your note yesterday about a book. Yes, there's one signed on my desk. Good night. I just ordered another pack from the publisher. You know, during COVID, the books come out and, like, they drip them to you because I guess they're printing everybody else's work, too. And they're going like, what's that rooster painter doing? And so there are some more coming. I have a dozen on my desk that go out today. A dozen went out yesterday, or maybe 10 went out yesterday, a dozen today. So thank you for sharing my story with your kids. It's called Hey Roo, What's a Wheelbarrow? More on that later. Shanoa, thank you. Denise Albright, Alejandra, Margie, is it Margie? Margy? I see you all the time, but I don't want to mess up your name. There's an I, there's a Y, this is a Y. So Donna Hamilton, Terry Tardy from Coos Bay, welcome. Chris Whitaker or Whitaker. Fern, thank you. Michelle, thank you. It is Ruse Day. There she is right there. Andy, thank you for being on. Pat Brooks, thank you. Still raining in Florida? Come on. Well, you know, should have built your house with a roof, my dear. I'm just picking on everybody. Virginia McClure, welcome. Beverly Schmidt, good morning. Linda, welcome to the show. Annette from Minnesota, little bitty drinks in bottles. Renee, thank you for being on the show. Denise Jones, Donna Barton, Lori Stanley Henderson, thanks for being here. Philip, hey Philip, man, you got a great sense of humor, man. Keep it up, okay? Some of you folks, I'm beginning to see your names right now just pop up all over the place with some creative art, and you're branching out. You're not getting stuck. You're finding blank pieces of paper, and you're piddling around with it. You're noodle, doodle, fiddle, piddle. You're doing it all to be an artist. You got to think like an artist. That's what we talk about on 857, Rue 857. That's the class. The class is going into its second week of October. And then I'm in the process. I looked yesterday through some of all my Christmas concepts and ideas, and I'm going to, within the next probably 10 days, I'll decide exactly how I'm going to do November, how we're going to work that in around the holiday, if I'm going to paint some Roodoodles that have to do with Christmas. That's a little early. I know it's Thanksgiving time, but it'll be November, and I would like to get those paintings out so you can get them finished and framed if you're painting one along with me. So we're probably going to do a class called Rue 857 November, and it's going to be about painting Christmas roos. I let one go the other day that I did just on the show here with Christmas lights and bulbs and all tangled up in it. You know what it's like? You put all your stuff away, you get ready to get it out and decorate, and you go like, this must have crawled during the off season. When I close the trunk lid, it's just all discombobulated into one big ball. Yeah, and now I think they even sell that ball to hang in trees, like just twisted up. Somebody was smart. He just took all his lights from the year before and sold them in the garage sale. So Carol and Carol and Carol. Wow, that's interesting. Oh, there's two Carols and a Margaret. Ruth, Mitzi, Julie, Mean. Wow, that's a great name. Is it Quasho? I don't know. Thank you. Sorry to butcher all these names. I grew up in East Tennessee. I went to Bluegrass Elementary School, for heaven's sakes. Lisa Haymaker, Joy Eakin, Mickey Hupp, Jackie Wallace, Burke. Thank you for being here from Greenville, my friend. So there's my... all right. I know the camera's going in and out. Sorry about that. That'll make you dizzy, won't it? I love that all you people are jumping on board here. Let's get going a little bit, and I'll say hi later and answer some questions if you have some. Here we go. Howdy from Texas, Micah. Good to see you. Tina, I'm just jumping on every 4 or 5 here like they do, putting on the hits. Lucy Springs. Yes, you ended up where the Field of Dreams was filmed. Isn't that fascinating? Yeah. I was talking about that story just the other day. I didn't work in that film, but I worked on another baseball film with Kevin Costner back in, oh my gosh, 86 maybe, 87. I don't know when that film came out. Bull Durham. I played left field in Bull Durham. When Crash hits his home run in Asheville. All right, so let's go down here to my desk, and I'll show you what I'm working on. Here's picture-in-picture right there. There it is. There's my messy desk. There's me in the corner. I think it'll stay. In there. Sometimes I like to just doodle while I'm catching up or having tea or coffee. Um, I like these little peeps. They're storytellers in my art. If you haven't recognized it now, you're going to get it soon. You're going to see what happens here. Um, I like little country scenes. I like to draw things that are gizmos. This is why I want you to learn to sketch. And it's just a rough sketch. None of these are perfect little sketches. They're just little rough concepts of quick storytelling. You know, I started this when the show started. I'm into it now for 6 minutes, but I've only been sketching on it 2 minutes because I was talking and saying hello and all that stuff. Look at this. This is going to be a label here. Um, I think you can see where this is going. There's some flames here. Um, Let me soak the paints down a little bit here. It's Tuesday morning, and I'm just putzing around here at the art desk. This is a little spray bottle that I use. That one's a little thick. The nozzle in this one, oh yeah, it's a real sort of atomized. And so what I do here is I just, yes, I'm using the new pen. Oh, you're using yours? I hope so. Hope it came in yesterday. Hey, getting a new pen when you're an artist is sort of like driving off the car lot with a new car. And that sounds silly, doesn't it? But you go like, in fact, I got to call my son today. He got one of these too. Should have been shipped in yesterday for sure. So he's a field notes guy. He writes in field notes, and he writes very crisp and clean and pristine. And so I'm sure he's got his pen out going like, that is a good pen. I'm being won over slowly by these two Pilot, very inexpensive fountain pens. Inexpensive, yes, compared to some fountain pens. When you see a pen like this, still, this pen's come down. This is the Lamy, Lamy. All that'll be in the list. There's another pen over here that I use a lot. This pen has been with me for 25, 26 years. Very, very heavy metal, medium point, German-made fountain pen. Has speedball ink in it. And I'll put all that ink in the list too. So if you want that email list from me, it's just going to be one page. I'm going to stuff it all in on one page, maybe a PDF that says, here's Roo's favorites. Here's Roo's concept of what he uses, what he likes to use the most. What I'm going to call is my go-to tools for just picking up like this. This is sort of my go-to stack. What all's in there? You know, this is the stuff that by the end of the day, this finds its way out to my section every time where I can just reach and grab it. Is there a better way to organize this? Yes! There's a better way to organize everything in my life. Excuse me. And I can tell it's turning fall here. So, today I want to just keep it simple. A simple painting. Somebody asked me yesterday, I wrote it right here, to paint a silky. So a simple painting, a silky. Someone said, story is important. I said, yes. I said, there's something to give away. You with me on all the S's? What did I say it was? Simple painting, silky, connection to story, a splatter or spatter, and then something to give away. I think that's five. I think that's 5 of those. So we'll do that today. So that'll be today's show. It's all in the S department, filed under the word simple. And there's a simple print too. That's what I'm going to give away, and I'll tell you about that too. All right, so here we go. Let me get this coffee cup out of the way. Make sure there's nothing shadowing the painting here except for my big old face. Can you see that, I think? What's the name of the green you're using? Mitzi. Doesn't it start with an S? It is. Yes, it does. It's sap green, S-A-P. I love it when that happens. Sap green. For real, it's sap green. Here it is right here. Look, I'm going to show you. Didn't make that up. Can you see that right there? Is the camera focusing? I don't think so. but if it would, this would say sap green. It's American Journey color. Sometimes I'll mix sap and olive just a little bit to get some depth, and sometimes I'll use a truer green, just one or two or three of the greens that I might find. And also, I'll drop a little yellow and a blue on this if I want leaves back in the tree a little darker, okay? You can't just put one color in and go, oh, that looks just like the leaves on my tree. You know that, right? So, but I mix on the paper and not necessarily in a palette. But there's a good question. I'm going to talk about the 6 colors that I use the most. That'll be on that page. So if you subscribe to my email, before this week's out, you're going to get an email that says, ding, here's Roo's go-to stuff. You're going to create your own someday, but this will help you if you walked into an art store and said, hey, could I get some 140-pound Kilimanjaro paper? Could I get some Fluid 100? Could I get a little bit of Fabriano 5x7? Could I get a Canson pack of paper that's ultra white? And know what you're getting. Is it hot press? Is it cold press? Is it mixed media paper? I'm going to try to have all that on there. I think the page is going to have about 15,000 words on it, and so I'm going to put it in a 2-point font. Hey, I'm just being silly, okay? Wait, silly, that goes with today. That's an S. Simple painting, silky, splatter, something to give away, story, and silly. I'm up to 6. I'm going to get 7 before the day's over. All right, here we go. Let's just do a little painting here this morning. Play around. So most of my paintings, folks, tell stories. You know that already, right? You know they kind of have to. It's just the way I love paintings to work. I like for people to connect, and people sometimes will go into an art gallery and they'll see colors that they like and they go, oh my goodness, and then they'll look at it and they'll come around the room again, they'll look again, and then it may or may not connect, because abstract can connect. If it's oranges and grays and whites and stripes in certain, not stripes, but a splatter in a certain way, it can connect to me. But then at the end of the day, I'm still wondering, what's that artist saying, really? I mean, what's that artist really connecting me to? And so I started doing small works that just happened to be a little more of a storytelling connection. And so they're simple enough that people look at it and they go, oh my gosh, I get that. That's just like my grandfather did, or that's what my father did, or my mother always said that, or I do that now. My kids, they do that all the time. So those are the connections that I reach for. They're simple connections. Does that make sense? Okay. Where to go to subscribe to the email, Mickey, when you're done watching this show, go to my Facebook page, and you'll see a link there that says Flow, F-L-O, Desk, Flow Desk, and you'll see a little link. Bob, you don't want to watch the whole thing. Trust me. Bob says, hey, I don't want to watch the whole Bull Durham. And Bob, you won't see me anyway. I'm playing left field. It's the last 4 or 5 minutes of the film, maybe 6 minutes of the film. So don't think you should. In fact, that movie is really not about baseball. So you might be surprised when you see that movie. There are some funny scenes in it, but it's a little risque. I didn't take my kids to see it. I was like, gosh, I did that movie to be in the film industry and work in some other things that I was working on film-wise. Sometimes you have to do things that you wish you hadn't done. That was okay, but last part of the film, Crash, who is Kevin Costner, gets demoted, I guess, back to the minor leagues, the farm teams, they called them then, and he goes to Asheville, North Carolina, which I lived in Asheville, and so my wife and I had part of the model talent casting agency, and she and another lady named Nancy Watson were still sharing the agency at the time, and she booked me into this thing, and I played for the Spartanburg Senators, and so it was, they handed me my shoes, and they were brand new, and I'm going like my cleats, and I went, I can't put these on. I'm supposed to have been a minor league player for a while, so they said, well, rough them up yourself. So I took them out on the concrete and I roughed them up and I rubbed some dirt on them. And all these guys came over and they went, hey, we want our shoes to look like your shoes. So I'm out there doing shoes. And so I thought, like, hey, I should have gotten a credit for set dressing on this thing. But I played left field in that film where Crash hits the home run, his last home run, as he's hanging up his cleats. And so he was a fun guy to meet with. Spent a couple days on that film in Asheville so he could hit one home run out of the park. It's a story, though, you know. That's what life's made of, folks. Life's made of stories. So be a part of some. Would you do that? Don't be afraid of being a part of a story. I kind of like this pen. The reason I'm trying it out is you just have to do some stuff like this with your pen. It doesn't bleed as much as my other pens, and I didn't want a whole lot of ink wandering around here. Okay, so I think this wash tub, though, should be maybe a little brown in there. And then, of course, as always, here's that sap green coming in. A little green in this. It just shows a little bit of rust. I like how that happens. I'm going to come in with a fine tip, and this will be on the list. Maybe something you can replace it with. You won't find this pen on the list because it's not made anymore. Sad but true. They just don't make it. You can't find it. Every now and then you might find one that's been in a 5 and 10 store somewhere in the middle of an Iowa cornfield, Bob. And I've got a pen that sort of replaces it to give me that bleed that I want down here, just in the dirt, in the ground, in the grass. And so that's kind of how I do. You see, I'm putting about 3 layers into here like that. Maybe a little more rust coming down here, a little rust. I'm just reaching over here above my T, pushing these pins out of the way constantly. Like that's a 7 that I'll use lately. I throw some pins over here as I use them. It's not like, okay, you're done. It's not like the doctor's office where they go, I've used that. Stat. Pen. I don't do that as much, but this got to be a little red under here, just a little bit, because you can see, and a little bit of yellow and orange coming in like this. And also, what do we know about propane? It burns blue, so got to put a little blue flame in there coming out like that. And we also have to put just a little bit of smoke coming out there. So what we have is we have this big bag of there we go. That's beginning to look like a little something cooking there. Now, but I could come back in with this pen now, and I could put some lines in my wash tub here. I had these guys sort of standing on a wash tub. If you live in the country and you don't have a wash tub turned upside down over a rototiller, I'm not sure you live in the country. Can you zoom in a little? Maybe. Terry Tardy. There we go. How's that? Look at that. I did it. I can look up and see these comments every now and then. Which pen was it? Did I join too late? Nicole, you said that yesterday. Did you join too late? Nicole, I did the Pentel Kakuna Extra Fine. That's what I used today. There it is right there. It's a clear pen. It's clearly, you can see it's a pen. I'm just in a strange mood today. I think I slept weird. But a fun mood. I love being creative. Thank you, Cindy. This painting is small. Would like to see it closer, Pat says. Okay, even closer. Scability. Here we go, even closer. Okay, look at that. This painting is 5x7. And there it is right there. Now watch this. I'm going to go in and get like a number 5 right here. And I'm just going to do a little cross hatching right here. Look at this. What is he doing? Does anybody in the green earth know? What is he doing here? Okay. See, all these connections, they don't have to be perfect. I'm sorry. They don't have to be perfect. They just have to be suggestive when you're doing just a simple little story like this. These are very much cartoony. I'm not a cartoonist. Not Pat. Now Pat does some great cartoons. She has a style to make it look like a cartoon. I don't know what that style is yet, and I love it. In fact, that's why she and I are working on a book together. I saw her artwork and said, oh my gosh, I would love to do something with an artist like that. And so we are working on something, a simple little book of rules, just the silly stuff that I say on this show to help you not be afraid and just be, silly to say not be afraid, right? Okay, all right, so can you see this? All right, so I'm going to go out just a little bit now. Here we go. I'm standing up again. I'm my own cameraman, so thanks for being patient with the production crew. They are sometimes cantankerous. All right, take a look. So you see this little thing here. I'm going to put a little sky out here. I'm just going to take a little bamboo brush. This is a number 1. Just going to get a little fresh water. I'm just going to go in with the water first, just dancing around. Not a whole lot of water. These brushes hold a lot of water. So tap it off 3 times. Hear that? Listen. Teek, teek, teek. Okay, that just kind of gets some of the water out of my brush. I'm just going to touch a little tiny bit of paint. The problem with work sometimes when you're first starting is that you bring in too much water and then you bring in too much color. So come at it from, don't eat the whole bag of chips at once. Come in just a chip at a time and just put a little bit of dip on there, okay? You got that? Just kind of come at it from a little lighter angle. If you do put in too much color, you can take a paper towel, a blotter page, and you can just touch it down. And look, some of that just danced right out of there while it was still wet. I just want a little bit here to show up a little bit. And then maybe down in here I want some, and maybe I want this a little bit darker. All right, so there we go. And I'm not worried about painting in behind every little popcorn kernel that's coming out of the bag there. I'm not even worried that some of those aren't painted in and don't look like popcorn kernels. That doesn't bother me at all. The point of this whole thing is that you get the concept of that there's a story going on. These 2 peeps have gone out. They figured out how to fire this propane up. They've put it on the turkey cooker, which, by the way, turkey cookers come out this time of year and burn a lot of houses down. And I'm not laughing about that, but it's like, what is wrong with the picture when you heat up oil to 450 degrees and then drop a frozen turkey in there? And then the oil goes over and sets the deck on fire, and people go, I was just cooking my turkey, and lo and behold, I caught my shoes on fire. When I got back, the deck was gone. Okay, it happens, people, so be careful when you're out there having holidays. We roast marshmallows here with my grandkids with swords, but I'm constantly in control of where the tip of the sword is. Hold it up, move in. Swords, yes, they're fencing swords. Man, those kids have a great time with them. They're going like, let's go roast some marshmallows at Rue's house because he's got swords. That's what grandfathers are supposed to do. All right, needed a little extra yellow in there on the sign that said popcorn. Now, so, all right, so I'm going to set this aside for a second. Just let it dry. We'll go to something else. And then I'll come back and I'm going to splatter this because that's on the thing for the day. Simple painting. There it is right there. There's number 1. Down. Woo! Whew. Somebody asked me if I would draw a silky. Yeah, let's do a silky here. Let's do a silky. This is mixed media paper, okay? Okay? Don't you like the sound effects? All right, I can run up and turn the focus on that camera. All right, mixed media paper. What is mixed media paper? Inexpensive paper, and it's called mixed media. This is made by Strathmore, okay? And it's 15 sheets of 184 pounds. This paper is 5x7 Fabriano cold press watercolor paper. All right, so I'm going to put it over here and let it dry flat, just like that. This is mixed media paper and stiff. It's 184 pounds. Listen to it. Whoops, wrong paper. Oh, that's it. No, it's not. That's 5x7. I guess I didn't tear the piece off. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Hear the difference? Listen to that. This is 140 pound. Listen to this one. I'm not flipping any harder. This is like a cardstock almost. Cardstock's about 200, 210. This is 184. Awesome paper. All right. So what was I going to draw on it? A silky. All right. So I don't have any in front of me. I'm not looking at one. I know that they look like I know they look like, sorry, when I reach up there to focus and move, the little sections come onto my camera, the little screen. Apologize for that. It's just what happens when you're in a room by yourself and you're everything. You're the camera set up, the control, sound, the sound people. You're the audio, visual, okay? All right. Thank you, Carol. Glad to make a rainy day. What's in the pan boiling? Well, popcorn is. Oh, popcorn. Yeah, okay, so we're going to have a caption there. So glad you put popcorn in there. It looked like you were cooking up some peeps. Okay, so somebody owns, Ruth Ann says she owns a cutest little rescue silkie. And Joy says these are Star Wars sound effects. All right, so here we go. My boys still make sound effects too. I used to have a book that called Making Sounds with Your Mouth, and it was like... Took me a while to learn how to click and click. And then to kind of throw some extra, and then also to hum at the same time. So I can make my own bands. I'm driving down the street and you stop at the red light, you know, and you realize you're doing that, and you look over and the people next to you are going like, that poor man, that poor man. But I've also driven down the road like this. So at the red light, I'll be going. I'll look over and I go, and so then I'll just roll the window down. Hey, life's too short, so be a little silly. That's on. I'm making sure I put silly on here. Be a little silly. All right, so here's a silky, a silly silky. Let's see. And silkies remind me of old rock and roll singers out of the 70s. I know they got round furry heads, and so do they have headbands? Like sometimes I'll have to wear a headband or pull my hair back. So maybe I could put a silky. Let's see. Let's have this silky looking down at us here. Should I do this in pencil? Nah. What the heck? Silkies have a lot of little black around their eyes here. So this, so then they have this shape, and then their head starts to just pull out like this, and it's kind of round. You see what I'm doing here? I'm just kind of getting this round, and then they have a little ball for a tail. Here's one. Look, I'm not looking, so I'm just having fun here. And then also a big fluffy wing down here. And sometimes the bottom end, what I call the bottom end on the rooster, or the chicken, it doesn't even have much of a leg. It's just sort of pieced out there like that. And the other leg may just be covered up with feathers. Now, if he had a headband on there, he'd look like a rock and roll singer from the 70s. I'm telling you, I got this down. That's getting close to a little silky right there. So what I do now is I'll just stop there and then come in and paint that. See how it looks. That's not bad. That's not bad for, see there? Watch it from the dental chair. I'm thinking that mesiofacial Skeeter needs a little bit of a root canal. Go ahead, doctor. It's a 0.29 file. Just drill a little hole and grind that out for him. That'll work. How about that, huh? Yeah, I could do dental work. Let's do him kind of a buff colored. We did a buff painting yesterday. I'll do another one here today. Just kind of mix some colors here. Look at, I don't do this often, but I'm going to mix a little bit to get my base color started there. There's some on my finger. I'll just mix that too. I put a little bit of orange, a little bit of yellow, touch of red. Too much red. Go back and get some more yellow. Maybe a bit of this gray, French gray in there. That's getting there. And then also a little of this, I don't even know what this is. Someday I'll look this color up. I don't use it very often, but that's giving me what I want right there. That's probably a little bit of a light, I don't think it's sienna. I'm not sure what it is. All right, let's see what happens, though, if I touch this. Look what's going to happen, though. If I drip on this paper, because this is mixed media paper, the pigment in the paper, like cold press, it's going to absorb the pigment. Here it's going to float on the surface a little bit. So this is going to be pretty loose. So I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to soaked my brush pretty well, and I'm just going to come in and start putting it in like this and just letting it go. Okay? I don't know if I mixed enough paint, but I'll promise you that I'm going to drag it out here and make it work. If I didn't mix enough, I'll come back in and do something later. Okay, so look at this. I'm just using my brush very loosely here to follow some of these lines, and I'm not following a lot of them. Can you see that? I'm just starting with the light colors first, kind of coming in. I feel like I need some rock and roll on instead of this soft guitar and paint this silky. Go in here and get just a little bit of this. Can you see my palette over here? This color, these pans right here I don't use for hardly any colors. These are my small colors. These are American Journey paint that I just squeeze in these little palettes, my little palette pans here. And I like small palette pans. I like to be able to move. If I wanted to take this whole thing outside, I could just cut and run with it in a flash. Of course, I always have my smaller palettes like this one. And I'll tell you about the 6 colors I use in here. These are really the colors that I paint all Rue 857. I paint my class out of these all the time. Take a look. Really, you're going to see my favorite same 5 or 6, maybe even 7 colors now that I've added green to this palette. But I started this with just 6. I'll add a few as I go along. Okay, a little bit of Payne's gray in here because I'm thinking this Silky has some dark in around his jaws or eyes. That's just how they're wired. They're built. Sometimes their beaks even have a little darkness in it. So I'm just going to put the beak in there. It's a little dark. Might have a spray of turquoise in there. Where did that come from? Well, he's been to the local fair and got one of those little feathers in his hair. Wow, he's going places. Look at that. He's happening. So you see what I'm doing? I'm just really letting my brush really dance lightly. This is probably the most brushing that I do, trying to do something like this. I'm really trying to let these brush strokes be ever so lightly. And see my light pen there? Everything's light. And this is a silly little painting anyway. I think his feet are going to be just a tad gray. So there we go. And I might just let some of that gray sort of wash under this. I'm just playing here. Do you see that I'm just playing? I'm not trying to impress you with my ability to paint this silky chicken. I'm just trying to make it look like what I think a silky chicken looks like. Because honestly, if you could pan back here on the desk, you will see that there's not one line anywhere. Take a look. It's just not there. Here's mine. Here's a note where I said I got to paint a silky. There's my story. There's something to give away. There's just nothing there. So what I want you to see is sometimes memory is a good tool just to see what you come up with. Sometimes if you're looking at the picture and you're trying to just replicate the picture, you'll get frustrated a little faster than if you just think, this is how I remember seeing this bird. You know? Does that make sense? I hope so. I hope you understand that. Here's where that pen comes in handy. Okay. A silky caught in a swift breeze. I still think they look like rock and roll singers, from the 70s. And I wasn't a rock and roll singer, but I was the country singer that had the longer hair. Still do. And happy to have it. And so, every now and then I'll bump into some young people and they'll go, did you see that old man had his hair up in a bun? Or did you see that old man had his glasses on his head or was wearing a headband? And so I'll hear it sometimes and I'll go, did you know that old man can't see with his hair in his eyes? And that old man's not a sheepdog. So he just does crazy things. And he's not offended by what you say. Life's too short, folks. So my offense mechanism is way back there. You're not going to insult me. If people insult you with what you draw and how they respond about it, then you're probably going to have to toughen up a little bit. Like pastors of churches, I guess you could be a pastor of something else if you wanted to, but you've got to have the hide of a rhino to be an artist. You really do. You have to be tough. Chip Fur and I know that well, man. You got to have the hide of a rhino. We talk about that often. We had a guy who encouraged us one time in a book to have the hide of a rhino. So, all right. So now I'm going to come back in with this pen and just put some definition in there. Take a look at that. That's a silky right there, folks. Not too shabby. You did not listen to some songs on my album yesterday. Okay, Chris Whitaker, I don't know where you found it, but I didn't know it was out there. But yes, my voice seemed a little higher back then, didn't it? I wrote most all those songs. That's a little embarrassing. I did that album in 76, I think, 1976. Holy smokes. That's crazy. Okay, all right, so we're trucking off. So first I did a simple painting. That's this one. We're going to go back and finish it. Then I did a silky because somebody asked me to yesterday. And so there's my silky right there. See how that pen bled in with the color I was using? Do you see how that just happened? And what I've been doing is talking here and not concentrating about it and just letting it happen. I teach this so much in the class, and I'm using the word teach more than I ever thought I'd use it in my entire life. The fact that I'm even teaching art class surprises maybe not anybody else in the world, but it surprises me. And the point is, lighten up. What is it I always say? The reason angels fly is because they take themselves so lightly. Lighten up, people. If I could say one thing to our country today, I'd say, lighten up. Quit talking about what somebody did wrong to you and just go buy a bowl of soup for somebody, for heaven's sakes. Interviewed a sweet lady yesterday, man, who has this story that just cut to my bones and made me think, I'm so blessed. And I see where she's coming to and rising up out of it. I'm going like, you go, girl. It was impressive. Man, I love it when people start to tell their stories and they find hope. And find it. Go look for it. Quit waiting on somebody else to bring it to you. Am I preaching today? Okay. All right, so there we go. A little more green down here. Speaking of green, is that sap green? Look, I didn't even wash out my brush then. I just took it with a little yellow in it. I put it in the green. I think this needs a little bit of blue, though, don't you think? Just a touch right here. Boop. Boy, you can't even hardly see that. I don't know if you can see it from where you're sitting. Now I'll put a little more in there. You can see it. And I'm going to splatter this painting just a little bit, but I'm going to let it dry just a little bit before I splatter it. And I'm going to show you my new way of splattering here this morning. You're going to like, oh my gosh. I brought in the spattering tool. All right. Here we go. So what was I doing? Simple painting, a silky, a story. This is a story. I got 3. All right, being silly. That's 4 or 5. Here's the spatter and splatter. Okay, so let's let this one dry for just a minute. We'll put it there. Let's bring this one back in. It needs a caption. Maybe put some detail in there. Got this big old pot here. You got it on the cooker. I need a 7. The reason I use these pens a lot and what I've discovered over the last few years of using the Pentel pen, it'll be on the list. You subscribe to the email list, you'll see a pen there. Whoops, I just got paint everywhere. That's not everywhere, it's everywhere. All right, that's the other disadvantage of just having a small space. But I'm trying to keep this in a small space so you can see. All right. All right, so look at this. So one of the things that I do here is I can go back with this Pentel Intergel pen, and even though this ink is, this watercolor is still moist, it hasn't dried completely yet. This is great paper. This is 100% cotton, extra white Fabriano. I'll show you what it looks like in its box, unopened. Here it is right here. This paper is more expensive than this paper and the whole thing. It just is. It's a little more quality, but if you have a fine little piece of story art you want to do, it's great paper. It's Fabriano. Okay. Canson makes some great 100% rag cotton. Strathmore, I think they're wood fiber. I don't think they're cotton paper. And I'm a fan of cotton papers and how they respond. For my style of art, let me say that, for my style of art. Let me say that one more time, for my style of art. However, I just painted this silky on very inexpensive mixed media paper, and I love what the colors are doing. I like the fact that they're just laying there and they're getting thicker. There's some shadowing here that I can come back in and add a little more. Notice I just spotted that. Now I'm just dropping clean water. I like hard edges. Some people do not in watercolor. It drives some artists crazy if there's a hard edge. In my art, I like it because it looks like a layer in the feather. So it plays well into my style of rooster painting. All right? All right, so let me just rinse that brush out, clean it off, and I'll go in here and do a caption. But I was doing some detail. I was showing you how I could come back here, and I put in the little hanger down here, the little knob on the outside. And that knob should be red, right? So I'm just take a little number 3 American Journey brush here, okay? Just touch a little bit of red, very little, and go red knob. There it is right there. That little piece of detail seems so crazy for a guy who's just as fast and but I love it. I love machinery detail. I like when the threads of something are working. So now that this is dry, I'd come back in here and I'd put a little knob up here on top of this also. And that knob is not red in propane. That knob is silver, or it's sometimes blue. Okay, so there it is right there. All right, this hose, notice I put red in there, but I let it absorb in. I didn't want it too dark. I wanted it to look a little used. And then I'm going to come in now and just put a little bit of piping on that, of just like it's insulated and comes out. There's the handles on my propane. See how I've cleaned up all these edges with this pen where they bled through and I didn't want them to. There you go. And you've got one here. Maybe this tub has a little bit of a rundown and a rust in it like that. So I start putting different lines in. And maybe this tub, look here, let me show you something. I turned it upside down. See, I turned my painting upside down? Look at this. Now I put something there. You know what that would say if you were close enough? It would say NO3, number 3. It's a number 3 wash tub. Why does that matter? Because I remember that as a child. That may not be for any of you. It just may be for me. It may be for me to smile someday when somebody sends me a picture of this, or I find it and I go, that's a number 3 wash tub. And they go, what are you talking about? And I go, look, there's number 3 right there. All right. Okay. Might need a few extra little pieces of popcorn hanging and flying around over here. Popcorn, to draw popcorn is just like, it's like drawing, who knows, pebbles or anything you can draw. Now I might just put a couple little motion lines coming out of there like that, so it looks like it's happening. It's exploding a little bit. See that? It's coming out. So now you get a feel for what's happening here. And here's the comment. He says, better run and get everyone and 30 pounds of butter. There it is. Now we ought to sprinkle that, or we ought to splatter that a little bit. Watch this. Sometimes I splatter like this. People want to know, how do I splatter? Let me count the ways. Here we go. I'll just use this piece right here as a scrap piece. Excuse me. You could take a brush like this. This is a number 3 American Journey brush. Thank you, Chris. I have had a rich life. You know what, Chris? I'm highly favored. I'm just highly favored. That doesn't mean that I'm wealthy. It doesn't mean that I'm rich beyond means. It doesn't mean that I live in a fancy place. It doesn't mean that all my children have done exactly everything they should have. I mean, they have, but they are, they live with their warts and foibles, just such as I. Disappointments, job changes. I've probably been fired more than most of y'all have had jobs. And some of that was my own doing. But I look back and I see my blessings, and I realize I'm highly favored. And so thank you. And so I appreciate you saying that, because everything that you do in your life has a purpose for it, and it's a teaching moment. My kids used to call that, uh-oh, here comes the lecture. But part of it is that all of the things that we did and all the things that we learned are teaching moments for all of us. So here's a teaching moment right here. Here comes one. I'm going to move this over. Move my cup over here. Wait, another sip. When I get the paint out of my cup. Someday they'll cut me open and they'll go, you know that guy's liver's got some gambogi on it. All right, so look, I've got a damp brush. Hear this? And that's why my brushes have no paint on them down there. Did you ever notice? And I sent a picture to Cheap Joe's the other day, and I said, look at these brushes. You see this? Look at this one. It has no paint on it, right? I said, because you crack them off on the side of the jar. So I'm going to be a little careful. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some blue splatters here because I think you can see the blue well. So people are saying, hey, I don't know how you spatter or splatter. It's a good word for either. So I'm just going to touch a little bit of red paint. Not too much, just a little bit with a moist brush. And I might even walk in after I've done it and just wet my brush again. Then I'm going to take another brush and I'm going to hold it about 3 inches, 2.5 inches, 3 inches above the paper. Can you see that? Stoop. And then I'm going to take this brush and I'm going to tap it down and hit this brush. Ready? So let's say that we had a little peep right here. Let's not only say that we have one, let's draw one. Okay, there he is right there. And let's see, his other foot's back here like this. He's taking a little walk. There's his eye. Okay, maybe there's a little bit of water in this little peep here. And it's just here. There, I'll just make it so you don't have to imagine it. There he is. Okay, so then we're drawing some ground, and he's got a little bit of sky. And, uh-oh. See, that's what you should never have that many pins laying on there when you do that. But I had an eraser. Let's grab a little bit of this color right here and just make his beak and his legs a little different color. All right, so there's our little peep. All right, so he's out for a little stroll. And then we're going in here, and we just want a little bit of red in here in his feathers. So watch this. I'm going to come in a little closer this time, because if I start back here, my splatter's going to go. But if I want my splatters close, I'm going to come in about 1 inch off of the surface. Can you see that? Look. Zip. And then I'm just going to go tap, 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 tap. See that? And I just splattered these little splatters right here. Let's see if I can focus that and show you what I did. Take a look at this right here. Here we go. Ta-da! Boom. All right, see that? All right, so now we want a little blue in the sky. So I could do this. I could get some more here, and I could get a little bit of this blue on this brush, and I could hold this a little farther away, and I could go like this. And I'm just lightly tapping. If I tap too hard in the beginning, all that splatter is going to come out of there, and I'm moving the whole thing as I do so. All right, so let me show you another way to do it. So that's one way to splatter. What happens if I splatter with a different brush? If I splatter with this brush, I'm going to get bigger clumps, and I'm going to get a lot more. Don't overload your brush when you're splattering, okay? So let me show you something that I made a few years ago. Yes, Chris Whitaker saying I use a toothbrush with acrylics. It's a great way, and I didn't bring a toothbrush up here, but I'm going to show you another way. If you get a toothbrush and you wet it and you put it in your acrylic paint, maybe you put on the front of the toothbrush, maybe here, you put a little bit of a green and a little bit of a blue and a touch of yellow, and then you take the toothbrush and you go, love that sound effect? And it just splatters out. And it gets on your shirt and on your clothes. And I'm wearing a pink linen shirt today, so I got to be careful how I splatter. But watch this. See this thing right here? A little piece of steel. Just a little piece of steel that I had in the shop. And I just put it in the vise and I bent it into kind of a little square on the end. See that? And then I covered it with a little piece of silicone with Teflon screen, like window screen. Yeah, I just glued it on there. I just took a little piece, and I made this thing 10 years ago, for heaven's sakes. I think you can actually buy these now. So I just put some glue on here, and I laid it down on a piece of screen. I let it dry. Then I just trimmed the screen off. You can see where I did. I think this may be Teflon. I don't think it's wire. Could be wire screen. No, it's Teflon. Okay. So then let me show you a little trick. See this? So I've made myself a little screen. Ready? Okay. All right, here we go. Man, running out of time. Got to work fast. Now I'm going to take a brush, a number 3, and I'm going to take a little bit of red paint. I'm just going to paint some close-up in the screen. See that right there? Maybe another little bit over here. Just go in here, paint a little bit like this. You'll get a little bit of yellow. Just drop it in like this. There's a tad of yellow right in there. A little bit of yellow. How about a little bit of blue just in here? There's some blue. Just dragging it across the screen, and maybe just one touch of green just right there so you can see what I'm doing. All right, so you see that? So there's all my colors on the screen. Look at this. Ready for this? How can I show you this without showing? All right, there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lean over here, and I'm going to put this right in here, and I'm going to lightly blow through the screen. You got to be kidding me. Really? Look. Ta-da! Now you understand that's overkill. Nobody would want to splatter that much, but I did it just so you can see the awesome little splatters in the background. So somebody says, well, it looks like I messed up my paper or it's dirty. I'm telling you, you got to learn to control it. It's amount of water, it's amount of paint. But if I just wanted a quick little splatter, and I want some little oranges and reds and blues mixed, there's a way to get it right there. Okay? All right, let me throw that on the floor. Let me go back to the silky and give him a little more yellow right here, up in here, just right in here. I think he needed a couple more, just little sprigs coming off. This is that little number 3 American Journey brush is really great for light. Man, I'm so light on this. I'm literally just letting the brush push itself almost. Just swing around in my hand. All right. A little more gray on the feet right here. A little more gray underneath this wing right here. And then I might come in with this number 7 pintail and just put a little bit of black emphasis on the upper of the wing here. All right, so there you go. There's my little Silky this morning. And I'll give him a name. Turn the music up. And let's see, we'll just use this. Give it a little splatter with this. Here we go. Voila, done. Turn the music up. There it is right there. There's a Silky finished. I'll post him today. Somebody might want to take him home. Hey, so let me check my notes. I wrote down a note. I said a simple painting. That's this one right here. That's the popcorn painting. That tells a story. That's it right there. A Silky. Did it. That's it right there. A splatter. How to connect to the story. Something to give away. I was going through my... what to do with it? I was going through my briefcase this morning, and this is a briefcase that my wife actually made for me in 1975. I think some of you may have seen this before on the show. Sometimes I repeat things, and it's just because I have new people on the show. And thank you for coming to my show today, and thank you for hitting the like button on my show and loving what you're seeing, and thank you for sharing my show, too. You know, that makes a big difference for me. You can sign up for my newsletter, which I send out one almost every year. You can send that out. You can sign up at Flowdesk. There's a link on the Facebook page. It'll be under today's post. And before the week's over, I will put a newsletter to you that actually will be the supplies that are my go-tos. It's not everything on the desk, but it's going to be the name of paint that I use, which is very obvious. It's American Journey from Cheap Joe's. The brushes that I go to, my go-to brushes, my probably 6 or 7 favorite pens, for sure 5. If I get it to 7, I will. And just some things that I use. I'll explain who they are, not even what I use them for, but just what I use, and you'll see in the show, and you'll go, oh, that's a good pen. If I use it for about a week or 2 and I tend to hold on to it, I tend to stack them up and I'll buy 3 or 4 or 5 of them. There's a couple pens that I've actually, I have a case of them. I bought, when I say a case, I mean I bought a dozen of them, and I say I want to keep these before the pen company changes them again. Okay? All right, so here we go. This is a case. You see this right here? It says 1975 right here. To Mike with love, Carol from 1975. My wife actually cut the leather, hand stitched this, and made this case for me. And everything I've ever written, any book, any training manual, anything that had to have a manuscript, even Roodoodles, Hey Roo, what's a wheelbarrow, and it still is in here. Not all of my projects are still in here, but I'm still keeping some in here. So I'll show you something I'm working on real quick in the last 5 minutes. Watch this. This is all the original art take a look at this. This is some of the original art. Oh my gosh, that salad was made from tree leaves. I suppose that. Here's the pig from the book. Here's a gate. Here's some birds. Here's some ideas that I used that didn't get used in the book. There's some sky. There's a bird. There's the end of a wheelbarrow. This is a bowl of soup. I painted all these separately like this as I went into, look at this. Here's a day that I was working on grass and grasshoppers. You have to work on all this. There's a barn. There's a basket with a broken egg. There's Hey Roo. There it is right there. Yep, there's my Hey Roo. There's the wheelbarrow. There's a scene from the book. So my point is there's probably about 50 originals in here. I don't know what I'm going to do with them yet. I'm keeping them right now. The book is available. It's called Hey Roo, What's a Wheelbarrow? There's not too many available. You can order it today. It's being shipped in. I think there's 3 or 4. This is another book that I'm working on, and it's going to be called Roodoodles. Sometimes the last S this morning is scattered. Yeah, most good artists are a little bit scattered, and you want to be starting another project before you finish the last one. And the reason for that is postpartum is a real thing. When I finish a piece of art that I've invested into for a week or two, like in my blacksmith shop, I'll put it down a few hours from being finished, and I'll start something else, and I'll start to change my focus. It's just a little game I play to redirect my thought, my process, how I think, and how I look like an artist. How I think like an artist, I'll put on my lenses, which don't have lenses, and I'll think, okay, what am I going to do with that? And I'll be able to let that other one go. Isn't that a strange thing? So, but I do that. Okay, so this is a project that I'm working on. It's called Roodoodles. And it's these stories of all these, me combining technical looking roosters with small, here's a popcorn machine, as a matter of fact. It's called the Robot Popcorn. Here's the Roof Fire Truck. This is going to be a coloring book for kids. Here's the Road Crosser. So it's got stop and go. It's got all these things. Here's the Robot Helicopter. Here's the Robot Egg Deliverer. Here's the Robot Nightlight. Here's the Bug Catchers. Here's a Robot Green Bit Grasshopper. These are all technical, so they're going to be able to be colored. This is the Crow Tractor, because you have to measure everything. There's a concept. I'm working on this book, so I've got to finish this book and get it going. Just want to show you that. And there's one more in here that I'm actually working on. So it's a book that's called Odes from the Rivers, Rhymes from the Rivers, Odes from the Oceans, and Poems from the Pond. And so it's where you might find a painting that I made a print out of a few months back of an actual flamingo that I did. Here he is here. There's my flamingo that's going to be in here. He's the flamingo that wore rubber boots. And so a little lighter color. I'm treating these a little differently. And there's a crab in a pot that steals your hat. And so I'm working on these. But I found this print this morning in this box as I was looking for it. I remembered that I put a print when I did my first book. These are all poems. Someday we'll just have a morning of poems and manuscripts, and it'll force me to get these done. A little bit of that is bury your soul out there and tell people you're going to write a book and then write the cotton picking thing. It takes longer than you think, but it's a fun project, and it's a hard project. So today, here's my giveaway right here. Somebody who's commented on the show this morning, I'm going to give away. This is a print, by the way. I'm going to sign it, though, with a pencil, so you know it's a print. I signed it Michael. Roodoodles. So there it is right there. This is when they were asking him, what's your favorite part about pushing us around? And he says, my favorite part is just hanging out with you. And that's from the book. So this is a print. It's printed on wonderful paper. It almost looks and feels like watercolor paper. But I'm going to give that away this morning. So I'm just going to pull a name. I'll send you a note. And we'll go from there. Thanks for liking the show. It's 10 o'clock. Better run and get everybody and 30 pounds of butter because we're going to do some popcorn. And here's the Silky. Hey, I'll throw this painting in today, too. He needs to go to somebody's house. Oh, my gosh, that salad was made out of tree leaves. You go to a restaurant today and figure out what they make salads out of? It's crazy. Hey, I won't be here tomorrow, but I will be with you people who are part of Rue 857. October, we're going to paint, so get busy. I'll probably post a little something on that page later this afternoon for you to be working on later this afternoon when I get back. I'm off to another shoot. And blessings to you. All right. I'll see you Saturday, maybe. All right. Fun to paint with you guys. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for sharing Roodoodles. And send somebody a text today on your last sip. Would you do that just as you have that last sip? Think, who gets a note from me today or a word of kindness? Yeah. Share a word of kindness. I'm out of here.